I have the biggest news in crypto for you. Today, JPMorgan, the largest bank in America with over $3.6 trillion in assets, on Bloomberg, it was announced that they're going to allow institutional clients to use their holdings of the assets of Bitcoin and Ethereum for collateral on loans by the end of this year. Can you believe this? It's unbelievable. Bitcoin and Ethereum are becoming two assets, which the largest bank in America, 3.6 trillion in assets, is now accepting as forms of collateral to take loans, making them both productive assets where you can borrow against your Bitcoin and Ethereum and invest into other things. This makes selling pressure get significantly reduced. If institutional clients can go ahead and buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, borrow against it in a time where they think Bitcoin and Ethereum is topped out, and let's say rotate into the S&P or rotate into the real estate market. This is beyond huge. You're mixing the credit system and you're mixing Bitcoin. Ironically, there's two massively ironic things. The first massively ironic thing is obviously JP Morgan's CEO is the same guy that called Bitcoin a fraud and a Ponzi scheme. He said that in 10 years' time, Bitcoin will be closed down. And in 2017, he mentioned that he's going to fire any employee who touches crypto. And now they're the first ever bank to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral assets for credit. That's the first massively ironic thing. Even this year, Jamie Dimon in the World Economic Forum, he was, anyways, whatever, right? We at this point know that whatever these bankers say or politicians say, it doesn't matter. We need to follow their actions, and their actions point towards adopting crypto. The second most insane thing is Bitcoin was an invention created to save yourself from the corruption of the credit system, the corruption of the existing financial system. But quite crazily, without its adoption, without adopting Bitcoin into the credit markets, you're not going to see that massive amount of inflow of capital funneling in. So as an observer of this space, as somebody that's been around for 6 years and a part, partly of the cypherpunk movement, it's an interesting thing to notice. We are getting entangled with the same corrupt system that we built all of these things to fight against. And we're celebrating because now, thanks to that credit market exposure, you're going to see so much capital inflow. It's going to be ridiculous. And I know some of you are watching this video and you're like, CryptoKid, what are you telling me? You look all tired. It's 4:46 a.m. in the morning. Like, what are you saying? How is this beyond huge news? I'm telling you, this is the biggest news in crypto. If you understand traditional markets, if you understand credit markets, if you've been in crypto for, let's say, for 2 cycles, JP Morgan accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral assets is just unbelievable. It's really, really crazy. And it's going to open up the floodgates. Just like what the Bitcoin ETFs did, the BlackRock and Fidelity ETFs did. The BlackRock ETF now holds over $100 billion in Bitcoin. Just like what they did, the same collateralized option will bring in billions and billions of dollars into the Bitcoin and Ethereum markets, and it's going to cause their prices to appreciate dramatically over time. When we're speaking about price appreciations, just a very quick technical recap on what is happening over onto the markets. I want to begin with Ethereum because I think that Ethereum is looking pretty great. It's looking more bullish than Bitcoin. So let's quickly share our screen and go into what the price of Ethereum is doing. Ethereum is over the bull and bear market support band. We flipped the resistance of the bullish pennant into support. So I'm very bullish on Ethereum. Clearly, the markets are not pricing in how huge this news is. And I still do see an $8,000 Ethereum in this cycle. When we go into Bitcoin, on the other hand, Bitcoin looks a little bit more tricky. I don't want to do too much analysis because you guys know my TA and my standpoint at this time. It is more bearish in the short term than it is bullish. But in the macro, I still think that 300K etc. is achievable. It's just in the short term, I'm not so confident on the price action and the reasons for which you guys know. So there's no need to dive into it. But I did do a trade today. I did set up a trade over on the Moonshow Daily Crypto Live, which I host from Monday to Friday, covering the latest and greatest in crypto on your weekday. there was a trade that I set up, and I'm going to check my week's account if I can log in and show you the trade that I did or I'm trying to take. Basically, there's an inverse head and shoulder pattern on the lower time frames for Bitcoin. I know we're on the weekend. At this moment in time, there just isn't anything extra for me to take on Bitcoin apart from this one potential setup. So I'm just making sure that I'm not a robot. Yes, Google Authenticator, correct. Now we can jump into the trade. So over on Weeks, which you can sign up to using the first link in the description down below, or to Pinex to try their trading bots. They're wonderful, wonderful trading bots. Video coming out very, very soon. I just finished recording it. It's going to be edited and published very soon. There is a small inverse head and shoulder pattern on Bitcoin. I mean, I've been longing Bitcoin since 77, and I have a limit order to buy at 100.2, which coincides with the 54 simple moving average. But apart from that, I do see the inverse head and shoulder, and the only time I would enter into an extra trade is if we're able to break above this inverse head and shoulder. That inverse head and shoulder corresponds with the resistance of the bull and bear market support band. And if I go into the 4-hourly time frame and I put the VRVP, is it? The anchored VWAP, you will notice that from a volume-based analysis, it's also a pretty significant resistance. So 54 simple, there you go. So the bull and bear market support band, the volume-based resistance, the neckline of the inverse head and shoulder, they all line up to the same price level. So if we're able to break above those lines of resistance, then I'm going to flip bullish, and that's why I placed the trigger trade there. If you want to do the same thing, then you can just go to trigger price. I set it at 113,640, and then you can do markets and the amount of USDT with leverage you would want to jump into that position. But that is the setup that I have currently on Bitcoin and nothing else. Guys and girls, with that said, tomorrow is Saturday. Make sure to touch some grass. I did some very nice barbecuing with friends tonight in the desert. It was very, very fun. But Saturdays is a time of absolutely no volatility, so enjoy, go out, have some fun, and I'll see you all on the next updates in a few hours' time. Take care, guys, and as always, bye.